Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of The Magicians. A great season premiere, picking up pretty much right after the events of the season 2 finale. Obviously, the world is still kind of messed up. No magic, and you kind of see it hitting different people from different angles. In particular, like, Break Bills is on the verge of being shut down because it's like, oh, why should we really worry about a school about teaching magic when there is no magic? We have a lady named Irene, played by the blanking on the actress's name. She played Tess on Eureka, another sci-fi show, as well as most recently, she played Sarah on The Punisher. I was like, but basically, she's come to Henry, and it's like, okay, you either get Mayakovsky's batteries, which I guess he didn't use all of them because the whole bringing Alice thing back, he only used, wasn't it like 3 or 4 batteries? So I guess he has more. I mean, because all he said was we had some that he couldn't spare because the others have been looking for him, but I mean, he's up and disappeared because, you know, he saw this coming, so he's the only one that's really prepared. So he's got stored up magic, so a lot of people are after him. So, but the people on the board are like, yeah, hunt him down. It's like either you do that or we need you to get something, like something tangible so that, you know, that or the board's going to shut down Break Bills. Immediately my brain went to Julia. I thought it was going to happen this episode, but maybe it's something we're going to see in the future. But I think Julia's going to get taken for whatever reason. It's like, oh, they're going to try and experiment on her and understand what she is. Because it's something that Quentin kind of goes on about later on in the episode. Like, she shouldn't be flashing the fact that she got magic. It's like, we are peons in this whole, like, grand scheme of magic. They're the gods. They're the mystical creatures who are unaffected by this stuff. And you're literally the only, you know, in this world of like small guys, as in humans, human level people with magic, you're the only one with magic. That's a lot. That's going to get a lot of people's attention. Last thing you want is a lot of people knowing that you got magic, you know? So, because she ended up showing it off to Josh, you know, to make him feel better, because it's like, magic plays such a big part in his life. I mean, it played a big part in everyone's life, especially for Quentin, because he's always believed in magic, but it was just kind of like, no, like, you know, I always thought he was a little crazy to believe in magic as much as he did, but nevertheless. But I think that's going to be the thing. Like, Henry's going to find out she still has magic, and maybe he might unintentionally sell her out. I mean, I think that might be something we see, because it's probably going to suck too, because as we know, Henry and her have a past. It's like, okay, you know, because he's talked about it last season about how they've had like a connection and stuff like that, which immediately my brain went like, was that kind of like a intimate relationship that you and Julia have had in like the past time loops, or maybe some of the time loops? I'm curious about something like that, you know? That's how I always interpret it, but it was never anything acted upon, at least within the confines of the show. So I was like, maybe that's not the case. I mean, to be fair, this is a Julia that doesn't know him, so he knows her, but she doesn't know him. So maybe that's one reason why. But that's always been my interpretation of that. But nevertheless, I could be wrong about it. It could just be like, no, we're good friends. So, like, last season kind of made me think it might have been a little bit more, but we'll see. Other things. It does seem interesting. I guess it never correlated in my head, the last episode. The fact is that, not the last episode, but in the season, finale didn't register in my brain. I didn't think about the fact that Penny's abilities, I guess, technically don't count as magic. His traveler abilities, I guess because it's an innate ability, I guess it kind of puts him on the same level as a mystical creature to a certain extent. Like, his power comes from within him. It doesn't draw upon the wellspring, I guess. Because the fact is, I was like, oh, you can travel and everything. Like, I saw in the previews and stuff, I was like, oh, I thought that was like after, like, they got magic back temporarily or something like that. It's like, no, like, he's always been able, it never clicked in my head. Like, he can't do magic, but he can still have his traveler ability, which makes him a good librarian at the very least. It is all interesting because that one guy in particular that Penny was trying to get the book back from was like, oh yeah, this is all Mayakovsky's fault. Like, basically almost saying like Mayakovsky kind of threw everything off of balance, which is the fact that they introduced that immediately, well, it's because other people are trying to recreate his batteries, which Penny's like, don't do that. Those explode. I don't want to be around when that explodes. I can only assume that's going to be something like later on. A lot of people are going to... So, I mean, a lot of people already want Mayakovsky, as I brought up earlier, so I'm sure there's going to be people who want him even more so because they blame him for everything, which is like... Because word hasn't 100% gotten out about how and why Magic died. I think only a select few people, like the main crew, knows. Like, it's because... technically because Quentin killed a god and this all played out like this. To be fair, who knows if everyone at Brickbills knows? I'm sure like the teachers and stuff like that, like Henry knows, but I'm not sure if everyone knows the whole like exact details of what's going on. So, and once again, it's still a situation where like I kind of agree with what Quentin did. Like if he didn't do what he did, magic was going to disappear anyway because Ember was going to like kill everybody. I mean, to be fair, it all started because he ended up killing his brother. Oh, but the parent. Ember and Umber's parents didn't step in then, did it? It's like, they're just fine. Oh, I guess because it happened in such quick succession or something, but it's like you're gods. You're the old gods. You couldn't have interfered. It's one of those things where it's just like, man, let the youngins, let the young gods like handle that stuff. That's kids being kids. I'm sure is how that's being treated as. So, but I do appreciate the fact is that also, Quentin and Julia are trying to figure things out. It's like, okay, why can she do what she's done? Like, obviously, I made a video, like, after I talked about the season finale, like, way back, where basically I kind of allude to the fact is Julia can use magic. Maybe it's because she is something else. Because she's never had to tap into that other part of herself. It's kind of weak, so she can't really, like, muster, up, because she's always relied on a wellspring for her magic. Quentin also theorized like, well, maybe it's just, you've been around a lot of gods and stuff like that. So it's like, well, maybe it's something from when Persephone brought, Julia her shade back, a little bit of magic traveled with it. Or maybe, it's like I said, some stuff left over from the whole Reynard situation. So it's hard to say in that situation. Like, I'm my brain is ever since the season finale. After I sat and thought on it a minute, it's like it has to be the fact that she's something else. And that's I made a video where I talked about it, but you don't have to check it out. I just kind of tell you what I talked about it. And it basically either Julia's adopted or like someone in her family isn't like human or whatever the case may be. I'm curious, like someone in her family has to be something else, or like I said, she's adopted. We have not touched on Julia's family since season 1. There's a whole like everything she was going through. We met her sister. We've talked about her mom, but that's it. So that might be something we swing back to this season. Maybe, maybe not. We'll just kind of have to wait and see on that. So it was interesting that they ended up talking to Bacchus. I do love how out of the loop he is because he's like, oh wow, you humans lost magic, really? It's just because I guess it's such a party animal. He doesn't care about anything else. But also, like, the fact is, he's like, whoa, you killed a god? Who'd you kill? And he was looking so pissed and everything. Ember of Fillory? Oh, man, I don't know that guy. It's like, I wonder what would have happened if it was someone you know. I mean, it seems like in general, like, I'm sure, I mean, they're kind of the same generation. They're kind of like the youngins when it comes to the gods. So, I guess taking from, American God a little bit, the new gods, that they don't really know or care that much about other gods unless they're people that they know. Like, it's like, oh, this one god got bumped off. I don't care. He wasn't a friend of mine, so it's not that big of a deal. Even though, like, a god dying is a pretty big deal. But it was kind of interesting finding out, well, he was kind of like, didn't know the fact is that Prometheus has died. It's like, what, Prometheus? What, since when? Yeah, dude, died like 1,500 years ago, dude. It's like, oh yeah, and it's like Prometheus talked about a back door. I don't know if that's something we're going to like see come up. Like the fact that they went out of their way to mention it makes me think like there might be something to that. But also it seems like the new gods, the youngins, don't talk to their parents. It seems like it's kind of like Bacchus is kind of like, I have not talked to my parents in like a millennia. They're kind of, they're jerks. So I'm like, I wonder if does that apply to every god? Once again, it's like, and I guess it's something that, Alice touched on last season. It's like to these gods, to the new gods, we're toys. To the old gods, we're more like cells. But now the fact is we fight back and do something they don't like. That's why they just kind of like let things be what they are. It's just like, oh, my child's over there playing with their like that little insignificant thing we call their playthings, So I guess that's really their like laissez-faire like type of attitude about the whole situation. So, it only really matters now that like a human killed one of your kids. It wasn't a big issue until when one of your kids killed the other one, but whatever. And speaking of Alice, it's kind of interesting seeing like her side of the story in this. It seems that she left, and it's something I don't know if I really picked up on it until like rewatching season 2. That she isn't necessarily the same Alice. Like things are super weird and awkward between her and Quentin. And it seems like she left. Now, obviously this is because the Lamprey is after her. Like she got that warning in the season finale. So there's that. Part of me thinks like that might be part of the reason, because it's like it's a problem that's because of her own undoing, because of her just being a little crazy and out there as a Niffin. She promised she wasn't going to go off hurting anybody, but that apparently didn't stick. Because remember, she made that whole promise to Quentin that all she was going to do is go do beautiful magic. But it's like, no. Like, now it begs the question, like, if Quentin had held on to her or boxed her, would the situation be what it is now for her? Even going as far as going to a vampire to basically get info on how to deal with this whole situation. The best he can do for her is a warning device, but we as an audience don't know what it is though. But the thing is, the thing I picked up on, it just seemed like for her, she even says it in this episode, it's like, the fact of the matter is I only, slept with you and everything because I thought everything would slide back into place, after like, she thought things could go back to the way they were. So like they can't. So just let me go. So I was wondering, like, I was like, oh, so does that mean she was technically using him? And now that it's like, oh, she's probably pissing him about the whole, breaking magic thing and everything. It's like, well, to be fair, it's like no one knew about the old gods. You wouldn't really think about it because you're like, oh, these guys are gods. So it's like you never think about gods having parents. So, So there's that. But at the end, when she's eating that bacon, like comments, you go, so you miss Quentin, like. So it like that's why I can't tell whether it's like she left for his sake, combined with her own sake, or is it kind of representing the fact is Alice is actually becoming a lot more like who she was before. I mean, it's true to kind of everybody in this extent. Like everything that went down, like no one's going to be the same after last season. So, but I think maybe some of that humanity, that human side of her is kind of slipping back in because now she was like, going as far as ordering a plate of bacon like that. Her and Quentin shared that in the season finale. So I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait and see on that. I'm curious to see about this whole Lamprey situation. I mean, besides like the fact is all we know is that Alice killed his family. That's about it. So he's out for revenge. So I am curious about Friar Joseph. Will we see any more of him? As a Niffin, he's suffering a lot from this whole like no magic situation. So. And I forgot to kind of bring it up earlier, so I'll swing back around to it. It's a whole Penny situation. Still working for the library. It is kind of interesting. They can't cure him, but what they can do is at least make it so that, hey, you can, at the very least, be in this place where time stops, so it halts. Well, time doesn't stop. It just passes slower. Or maybe it does completely stop. But it makes it so that his situation doesn't get worse. But the longer he's out, the worse his condition, his condition will move at a normal rate and start killing him because he only had like 2 or 3 weeks. And it's like, well, shouldn't they keep him there all the time? Well, it's like, well, he's the only librarian that can do the job that's necessary because without magic, he's the only one that can really do it. So I think at this point, he's probably basically doing everyone's assignments at this point in time. What was probably delegated to multiple people kind of falls on his shoulders too. So solely on his shoulders in this particular situation. And it's kind of interesting too because Zelda's kind of like very caring about it. And he's like, oh, yeah, a traveler is kind of hard to come by. She's like, don't be so cynical. It's like, it makes it seem like she's very like, I don't know, she's always been like very receptive when it comes to Penny. I think, like she said, he's not her type, but I think like on some level, even if it's not like that, I think maybe on a friend level, she kind of likes him. It's just like, she's like, you actually need to take care of yourself, Penny. It's not just about the whole librarian job. Because the fact of the matter is, let's not forget, his contract, I mean, to be fair, that was the original contract, like extended beyond his death. So it's like you'd still be working for the library even when you die. So if they were kind of fine with you dying, like they could just let you die and just have you as manual labor after the fact. But the fact is Zelda wants to keep him alive, make sure he stays healthy. It's kind of like, I think that speaks volumes. So, but it's also interesting with the whole Katie and Harriet situation, because Harriet's kind of playing that angle of like, yeah, you kind of owe me. So like, you might want to save Penny's life so you can compensate me for all the trouble I've gone through for helping you. We still don't 100% know what it is Harriet is up to. What it is that she was trying to get out of the poison room. And you can probably tell it's going to be not good. Because sadly, Katie has a tendency to kind of get mixed up with the wrong crowd. And it seemed like Harriet might be saying, hey, I don't know. Harriet's been kind of shady from the very beginning since we got introduced to her. So I don't know. I'm also curious about where Katie and Julie are going to be this season, because last time they left off, it's like was a whole Reynard situation, and she was super pissed about that. So they did not. The last time they talked subsequently was the season finale. So I'm curious about that as well. Like I'm curious to see what that whole situation with Harriet like ends up coming about because I doubt it's anything good per se. I mean, she is the only one that's still kind of like, hey, magic is out there. Which, like, once again, that spreads around. Josh, yeah, Josh kind of he's a drug dude. So it's like the moment he's going to start running his mouth at some point. It's like, oh, Julia's got magic. Julia's got magic. And what I don't know whether that's going to get back to break bills. Is that going to get back to Harriet? Like, what that whole situation is going to mean. It's like a lot of eyes are going to be on her. Then obviously a big thing is the whole situation with Fillory. Because I was curious about that. I was like, oh, wow, there's no fairies. I was like, oh, last time we saw you guys were up against the fairies, which at the time I never registered it. It's like, oh, yeah, like, Fillory doesn't have magic, but they're creatures, so they still have magic, the fairies. So, but then in this episode, and you were seeing the fact is that Elliot and Margot could see them, but no one else could. I was like, because they're in tuned with magic because even without magic they're still magicians so they can kind of still see into that world, or the fact of the matter is the fairies make it so that only they can see them, or maybe it's part of some deal, because that's the question, like, why is that? Because no one else in the castle can see them. It seems Abigail, the sloth, she can see them apparently, but then again I guess maybe she counts as a magical creature too, so like she's not immune to that. I don't know. Because a lot of people in the castle probably aren't magically in tune like Margot and Elliot are, so it kind of sucks. Like they basically have to secretly do everything that the queen wants because basically it's a takeover. Which immediately, I don't remember if I said this last season, but after subsequently rewatching the season, I'm gonna if I did, I'm reiterating it. If I didn't, I'm just gonna say it here in the first place. But obviously, I'm thinking like the whole like taking Finn. It's because they want a king of their own on a throne. Like Finn and Elliot's child is it has the blood of a king flowing through its veins. So that child can be used to be put on a throne so that the fairies have more legitimate control over the throne. Like there can be no contesting it, I guess, at that point in time. I feel like I might have said that before. Maybe, like I said, maybe this is the first time I said it, but I kind of don't remember half the stuff I say in these podcasts sometimes. Because I'm forgetful like that. It is super messed up too. I thought it was kind of a nice turn finding out like, because I was like, oh, she took Margot's eye just to be a douchebag, but it's like, no, she took Margot's eye specifically because it lets her like spy on them. That was why she did that specifically, like, which kind of shows you how far in advance the fairies thought. It's like, oh, like they've been probably waiting for this opportunity, and they used like the whole Finn situation as a ploy, as a means of getting themselves in this position. I mean, like I said, there's still the possibility of like the whole throne situation is their main motive, but like they took advantage of it. It does show you kind of how smart they are. It's super messed up. She's like got it on like a bracelet that's like connected to a little cage that's holding Margot's eye, which hopefully that means Margot's going to be able to get her eye back, because that sucks big time. And I also like the fact is that they were talking their own language in a sense. Like they were like, referencing other stuff, and it's like, oh, Game of Thrones. It's like, oh, see, I'm glad you got me to read those books. And he's like, well, actually, I didn't read the Game of Thrones books. I actually, Wikipedia them. Those books are like super long. So it does seem like, and also Elliot met with the great cock of, was it the Darkling Wood, who's basically the one that issues them a quest. And I love, and this is my favorite line from the previews of Elliot being like, yeah, that sounds like something I could really fuck up. Especially with no magic, because obviously him as not being a king, a lot of his quest is going to take him outside of his kingdom. So people don't really smile upon them outside of the kingdom and everything. So has to get his whole crew together for this whole quest. I love the whole thought about that. Like, they've been on adventures, and I guess you could argue making the quest, but it sounds so like, yeah, Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur type of like quest. And I feel like, I don't know, like arguably you could look at everything they've ever done as a quest, but it's like, this is the first one that's like, yeah, the quest of quests, all for the purposes of getting magic back. Also, I feel so bad for Finn, because Finn is a little crazy. Even in this first episode, she's holding things like, oh man, daddy, are so proud of you. And you see Elliot just looking at her like, it's like everyone acknowledges and looks at her like, yeah, she's crazy, but it's like, don't say anything. It's like after everything she's been through, like the trauma, it's kind of like having your baby taken from you and everything. You're entitled to a little bit of craziness. So immediately, like a great season premiere. I'm super glad to have the magicians back. I'm so excited to see how this whole season plays out. I even love that it's like, oh man, I need to, like Elliot's like, I need to deal with this whole like my people are in trouble right now situation. Like, how long will the quest like this take? Usually a season. And I'm like, fourth wall breaking. I love it. I love stupid inside jokes. Like they I don't know why I love them the most. They just get inside, like they get me giddy. I don't know why. So like I said, I am excited to see what they're going on. They got planned for this season. Along with the continuation of a lot of stuff. I might have brought up in this podcast. Like I've still said it, and I'll say it again. Like the whole situation around Julia is probably the thing I'm looking for the most to find out about. Like, is it just, does she have backup reserves, or the fact is it kind of like I said, where it's like, because she is something else and she's never really had to tap into it before, it's kind of like newborn magic for her. So I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. Cause it didn't seem like that really popped up until after those 2 months. So I don't know, maybe her magic is like slowly leaking out and she's kind of, I don't know what the right word would be. Solidifying it, I guess. Making use of it, slowly leaking out of, nevertheless. I'm very interested to see what goes down in the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good